Welcome back, guys. This time we are going to study the coccidians. Now, what are our coccidians? Now, coccidians are members of the suborder Eimyrina and subclass Coccidia. We have 5 species or genera of parasites under the coccidians, and these are the Isospora species, we have Sarcocystis, Cryptosporidium, Cyclospora, and Toxoplasma. Now, our coccidians actually belong to the phylum Apicomplexa. Now, if you can still remember, we're done with phylum Sarcomastigophora. The Sarcodina group are our amoebas, and we also have the Mastigophora. So we discussed one, and that's Giardia lamblia, no? So our flagellate. And of course, we're done with the Ciliophora group or the phylum Ciliophora because we discussed Balantidium coli, which is the only pathogenic to the group. Now, we are on the phylum Apicomplexa, and specifically, we have one particular class, now, which is actually of medical importance to man, and this is under the class Sporozoa. Under Sporozoa, we have, of course, the Plasmodium species, we have the Isospora, Cyclospora, we have the Toxoplasma, Cryptosporidium, and of course, we have the Sarcocystis, no, as part of the Sporozoan group. Now, we are going to discuss, of course, no Plasmodium separately because Plasmodium are not coccidians. So we are going to discuss Plasmodium or the different Plasmodium species, not on which are causative agent of malaria separately. Now, what about the phylum Apicomplexa? If you can still remember these phylum or the organisms belonging to the phylum Apicomplexa, possess apical complex, di ba? Now, this apical complex is responsible for the penetration of the host cell by these different parasites. Now, apical complex includes the polar rings, the rhoptries, the micronyms. We also have the conoid and the subpellicular microtubules. So, all this now are responsible for the penetration of the host cell. Now, the coccidians have two modes, no, or means of reproduction. We have sexual and asexual reproduction. So, in other words, the organisms or these different parasites, our coccidians, reproduce both sexually and asexually. Now, asexual reproduction is through schizogony, whereas sexual reproduction is through sporogony. Again, asexual reproduction is through schizogony and sexual reproduction is through sporogony. Now we go to the first of our coccidians, and this is Isospora belli. Now, what about Isospora belli? Now, Isospora belli is acquired through ingestion of contaminated food and water. Okay, so this is acquired again through ingestion of contaminated food and water, and the infective stage is the oocyst. So this time, guys, we will be studying different developmental stages now for our coccidians. So it's quite complex now for these different developmental stages. However, we will just focus our attention on the different infective stages now for both the definitive host, intermediate host, and of course other hosts of these organisms. So again, we will just focus on the infective stage or stages, to the different hosts, and then of course the different diagnostic stages. So learn the different developmental stages. Okay, so again, the infective stage for our Isospora belli is the oocyst, no? And in fact, for all our coccidians. So infective stage is the oocyst, and this oocyst, no? So this is a cystic stage. So lain ang iyang ngalan. So this is still a cyst, no? And this oocyst contains 2 sporocysts inside. And each of these sporocysts contains 4 sporozoites. So again, infective stage is the oocyst, which contains 2 sporocysts, and each sporocyst contains for sporozoites. Okay. So once ingested, anong matabo? Now, the sporocyst in the oocyst exists. So ma-exist siya, releasing now the sporozoites no, inside. And then the sporozoites enter the epithelial cells of the distal duodenum and the proximal ileum and eventually develop into trophozoites. And these trophozoites develop into merozoites in the cells by schizogony. So this is now the asexual cycle, no, or the asexual reproduction of our Isospora belli. So again, we have oocyst, which contains sporocyst, and inside the sporocyst we have the sporozoites, no? So the sporozoites are released and eventually develop into trophozoites, and then the trophozoites develop into merozoites in the cells by schizogony. Okay. And then these merozoites ma-develop na naman siya into schizons. Okay. So, si schizons, eventually, marapture siya, releasing now another population of trophozoites, merozoites, and schizons again. So, mabalik-balik lang ang cycle. So, that's the asexual cycle. However, some of these developmental stages will undergo sexual reproduction. Kag ano ang matabo? Okay. Now, in sexual reproduction, di ba, so those schizons naton ma-develop into trophozoites, merozoites, and eventually schizons na naman. So, ma-undergo sila sexual reproduction, and sexual reproduction will give rise to gametocytes. So, we have two types of our gametocytes. So, we have the microgametocytes and the macrogametocytes. Now, the microgametocytes will fertilize the macrogametocytes, resulting to the formation of zygotes. Okay. The zygotes then will develop into oocysts, and then this oocyst will leave the intestinal cells and enter the fecal stream. And the oocysts are found now in the stool. Okay, so that's the life cycle of our Isospora belli. So here we have the life cycle of Isospora belli. So again, men or humans are infected by Isospora belli no, through ingestion of contaminated food and water containing, of course, the mature oocyst. So the oocyst contain sporocyst, specifically two sporocysts, and each sporocyst contains naman 4 sporozoites. And once inside the gastrointestinal tract, di ba, after ingestion, the oocyst exists, releasing now the sporozoites. And anong matabo? So these sporozoites will undergo asexual reproduction in the gastrointestinal tract. So ma-develop siya, okay, into trophozoites, no? So here, okay, ma-develop into trophozoites, ma-develop na naman siya into merozoites, and then eventually into schizons, no? And then, si schizons, again, ma-produce naman merozoites, ma-produce na naman siya trophozoites, merozoites, and then schizons na naman again. And then some of these developmental stages will undergo na sexual reproduction, resulting to formation of microgametocytes and macrogametocytes. Now, the microgametocytes will fertilize macrogametocytes and will form now our zygotes. Zygotes will develop into oocysts, no? And this eventually, the oocysts are passed out in the feces. Okay. Now, this oocyst, no, initially, immature pa ni siya nga once passed out in the feces. So, we only have one sporoblast inside. This one sporoblast will eventually divide, giving rise to 2 sporoblasts, and eventually the sporoblast inside will develop into sporocyst. So we now have an oocyst, no, or oocysts with sporocysts inside. And eventually, the oocyst will mature, containing now two sporocysts with 4 sporozoites inside, and that is the infective stage again to humans. So the cycle continues. So again, infective stage to humans are the mature oocyst with the 2 sporocysts inside. Each sporocyst contains 4 sporozoites. That's the infective stage, whereas the diagnostic stage is the oocyst. No? Okay. Now let's describe oocyst of Isospora belli. So it is oocysts are elongated and ovoidal, measuring 20 to 23 micrometers by 10 to 19 micrometers. Now the oocysts mature within 48 hours following evacuation with the stool. So once passed siya sa stool, the oocysts are still immature. So after 48 hours, ma-mature na siya. So the mature oocyst again contain 2 sporocysts, and each sporocyst contains four sporozoites. Okay, so initially the oocyst contain 1 sporoblast, which divides into 2 sporoblasts, and sporoblasts develop into sporocysts measuring 12 to 14 micrometers by 7 to 9 micrometers in diameter. So we have 4 long and slender sporozoites inside each of the sporocysts, and which will develop within each of the sporocyte natin. Okay. So here we have the sporocyst of Isospora belli. So this one we only have one, a single sporocyst. So here we have 2 sporocysts. This is mature, and each of these sporocysts contains now 4 sporozoites inside. So this is the infective stage, nga oocyst. So again, we have here an oocyst, this is unstained, wet mount, and we have stained. Okay, stained oocyst with only one, nga sporocyst inside. Here we have, using fluorescent microscopy, we have 2 sporocysts inside an oocyst. So again, we have an oocyst with 2 sporocysts inside, containing, of course, each 4 sporozoites. So this is also another one. And then here we have, viewed under UV microscopy. So we have a single sporocyst inside an oocyst, and here we have 2 sporocysts inside a mature oocyst. So this is the oocyst of Isospora belli in the epithelial cells of mammalian host using H&E stains. Okay, now let's go to clinical infections. Now, most of the infections actually of Isospora belli are asymptomatic. So, asymptomatic man. So, for those symptomatic individuals, we have diarrhea, which may be intermittent for months with fever, malaise, anorexia, abdominal pain, and flatulence. So, malabsorption syndrome may result along with the weight loss and rarely death, So, syempre, because of the dehydration, in diarrhea. And reports of dissemination of parasite into other organs, especially in AIDS, and acalculous cholecystitis in some patients. So, may ara, specifically for the immunocompromised. Now, infections may last for months, but with good prognosis. So, that's for Isospora belli. Now, how do we diagnose Isospora belli? Now, the oocyst may be detected in the feces by the following using direct microscopy. We can also do concentration techniques using formalin ethyl concentration technique and zinc sulfate flotation technique. And also we can make use of cheddar sugar, flotation technique. And aside from direct microscopy, concentration technique, we can also make use of iodine staining. Now, aside from those three, we also have acid-fast stains. So, specifically for coccygians, no? Acid-fast stains, pwede gid natin magamit using quinine stain, or we can make use of auramine, rhodamine stain. Now, we also have the string capsule test or our entero test as what we discussed earlier, no, in Giardia lamblia. So we have gelatin attached to a nylon string, which is taken orally, no, inside, of course, no, the gastrointestinal tract, and the one end of the nylon is attached to the cheek. So this is allowed to stay for 6 to 8 hours. And then after that, the string is removed, and then any fluid, no, that attaches to the string is examined under the microscope, okay, for the presence of the characteristic parasite. And we also have the ordinal aspiration and molecular techniques. Okay, so these are the different techniques that we can employ to diagnose Isospora belli infection. So for treatment, for asymptomatic infections, bed rest and bland diet. And for symptomatic, we have trimethoprim, sulfamethoxazole. So combination, no? Trimethoprim, sulfamethoxazole. And we also have combination therapy with pyrimethamine and sulfadiazine, no? For 7 weeks. Now, as to distribution, Isospora belli is similar, no, to other fecal-borne parasitosis. So transmission is through food and water. So contaminated food and water. So disease is more common in children and male homosexuals, especially those with AIDS. So common man lang siya sa mga immunocompromised. High prevalence reported in Haiti and other tropical areas, of course, with poor sanitary condition. Now, how can we prevent isosporiasis? So, isosporiasis can be prevented by good sanitary practices, thoroughly washing and cooking food, and drinking safe water. Because remember that the parasite is acquired, no, through ingestion of contaminated food and water. Next, we go to another coccidian, and it's Cryptosporidium hominis. Now, what about Cryptosporidium hominis? So this is another coccidian, no? And we also have, again, the infective stage, which is the oocyst. Now, ano naman yung tsura ng oocyst ni Cryptosporidium hominis? Now, the oocysts are found in the feces of both humans and animals. It is round and measure 4 to 5 micrometers in diameter. And this oocyst is infectious, no? Infectious. And once ingested, the oocyst, no, release sporozoites, and the sporozoites attach to the surface of the epithelial cells of the gastrointestinal tract, and then eventually develop into trophozoites, and then enter the cell intracellularly. So si trophozoite masulod sa cell. So in other words, Cryptosporidium hominis is an intracellular parasite. So masulod siya sa cell, but extracytoplasmic lang siya. So where can we find, no, si Cryptosporidium hominis? So we can find Cryptosporidium hominis inside the cell at the diin, at the brush borders. Ano siyang brush borders naton? Sa diin, in the microvilli. So, ara lang sa surface na yon, no? Just under the plasma membrane, in other words, no? So, dira lang siya na yon. So, extracytoplasmic lang siya. Ara lang siya sa may microvilli, no? Ang aton nga, trophozoites. And these trophozoites in the microvilli, ma-divide naman siya and develop into merozoites. And then the merozoites are released, no, and then infect other cells of the host. Okay, and then eventually, some of these nga mga merozoites ma-develop or ma-undergo sexual reproduction, okay, resulting to formation or development of microgametocytes and macrogametocytes. So si microgametocytes will fertilize macrogametocytes, resulting to the formation of zygotes. Zygotes eventually develop into oocysts. And these oocysts are passed in the feces and can contaminate food and water. And then this can be ingested again by another host. So that's the life cycle of Cyclosporidium hominis or Cryptosporidium hominis, sorry. So it's Cryptosporidium hominis. So again, infective stage for Cryptosporidium hominis is oocyst, no? So that is the mature oocyst with, of course, the sporocyst and the sporozoites inside the sporocyst. So once ingested, so makadto siya sa gastrointestinal tract, releasing now the sporozoites. So sporozoites will develop into trophozoites, and then these trophozoites will enter the cell, intracellularly, specifically in the stria of the microvilli. So sa microvilli lang siya. And in the microvilli, the trophozoite develop, ma-develop siya into, ma-develop na siya into, of course, merozoites, no? So, ma-develop siya into merozoites. So, here, no? So, ma-develop siya into merozoite. And then, the merozoite, pwede naman siya kagwa from that cell and then infect another cell. And then, some of these merozoites ma-undergo sexual reproduction, ma-develop sila into microgametocyte and macrogametocyte. Microgametocyte will fertilize the macrogametocyte, resulting to the formation of zygote. And then the zygote will eventually develop into oocyst. Okay? And there's auto-infection also. So these oocysts can be acquired also by the same host. No? So there's auto-infection, and these oocysts will then release sporozoites, and then sporozoites will develop into trophozoites. So trophozoite will again enter the cell in the microvilli. The trophozoite develop into merozoite, and then the merozoite will be released from the cell and then infect another cell. So the cycle continues. So again, infective stage is the oocyst, and we have the diagnostic stage, which is again, the thick-walled na naman nga oocyst naton, the one that is passed out of the feces. Okay. So here we have Cryptosporidium oocyst. So this one, okay, so here, and of course we have again oocyst, of our Cryptosporidium. So here we have stained oocyst using trichrome stain, and we also have modified acid fast stain here. So here we have oocyst, stained with safranin. And this time we have oocyst stained with auramine rhodamine. So this is a fluorescent dye. And we also have here oocyst, labeled with immunofluorescent antibodies. So this is immunofluorescent staining. Now let's go to clinical manifestations. Now, cryptosporidiosis was a little recognized disease before AIDS, because basically cryptosporidiosis is a disease of the immunocompromised. So for the immunocompetent individuals, the disease is self-limiting lang gid, no? So we have diarrhea of 2 to 3 weeks. So medyo nagalawig man siya. And we also have abdominal pain, anorexia, fever, nausea, and weight loss. However, for the immunocompromised patients, we have diarrhea, which is more severe, which can eventually progress into life-threatening disorders. So bile duct and gallbladder may become heavily infected, which can lead to acute and gangrenous cholecystitis. And respiratory infections can lead to chronic coughing, dyspnea, bronchiolitis, and pneumonia. And we also have varying degrees of malabsorption and excessive fluid loss, and death may occur in disseminated infections. So it is dangerous actually for the immunocompromised patients. That is why previously, no, okay lang, no, self-limiting lang si cryptosporidiosis prior to AIDS, of course, no? Now, what are the different methods that we can make use to diagnose cryptosporidiosis? So we have cheddar sugar flotation, which is the most commonly used. We can also make use of formalin ethyl acetate concentration technique. We have Quinion's modified acid fast stain. So this is the one that is routinely used, and we can find oocysts no appearing as red-pink donut-shaped circular organisms against a blue background no, using Quinion's modified acid fast stain. We can also make use of indirect fluorescent antibody testing. We have enzyme immunoassay, and we can make use of molecular diagnostics, making use of DNA probes, probe assays or DNA probes. As to treatment, there is no acceptable treatment at present for cryptosporidiosis, but we have nitazoxanide, which is effective in preliminary trials. So okay na ni siya siguro, because our source is quite old. And we also have bovine colostrum, paramomycin, and clarithromycin, which show actually promising results. And of course, we also have azithromycin. As to distribution, so cryptosporidiosis is worldwide, no? So we have epidemics, unusual, which is actually unusual in North America, but there's one actually, and that occurred in Wisconsin, USA. And the reason for that is the faulty water purification system. And most epidemics of cryptosporidiosis are associated with water. So those water contaminated with feces of animals, specifically calf. So we also have, implicated are also unpasteurized milk and apple cider. We have also nosocomial infections. So those infections acquired in hospitals, for those healthcare workers actually, taking care of AIDS patients. And for prevalence, we have for developing countries, we have 3 to 20%. And in the Philippines, we only have 2.6%. Now, at present, we have two species of Cryptosporidium which affect humans, and these are Cryptosporidium parvum, which is a parasite of bovines. However, this can infect humans, so infection can be transferred to humans. And we also have Cryptosporidium hominis, which infects humans only. Now, as to prevention and control, so since this is waterborne transmission, so the most common source of infection is water. However, we cannot make use of chlorination because this does not affect the parasite. So we have synergistic effect of multiple disinfectants and combined water treatment. So they may may reduce Cryptosporidium oocyst in drinking water. So it's a combination of disinfectants and water treatment processes. So we also have natural water, and swimming pool water should not be swallowed. So prevent swallowing of prevention of swallowing natural water and swimming pool water. We also have contamination of drinking water by human and animal feces should be prevented. Okay. So that's Cryptosporidium hominis. Now we go to another coccidian parasite, and this time we have Cyclospora cayetanensis. Now, Cyclospora cayetanensis was originally called the cyanobacterium-like body or the cyanobacterium-like organism. Now, life cycle is presumed to be similar with the rest of the intestinal coccidian natin. So here we have an oocyst, which is 8 to 10 micrometers in diameter, and this is the one that is passed out, no, in the feces. So it's unsporulated when passed, but actually, infective ni siya 5 or more days after. So, ma-develop na si oocyst naton, no, sang 2 sporocysts inside containing 2 sporozoids. So, this time, our oocyst, no, contain 2 sporocysts, and each sporocyst contains only 2 sporozoids. So, that's for Cyclospora cayetanensis. And then, so once inside the gastrointestinal tract, the sporozoids enter the intestinal cells and then undergo schizogony and sporogony, no? Or gametogony. And then we have, so resulting again, no, to the formation. So this schizogony is the asexual, no, life, no, or asexual cycle, whereas gametogony is the sexual, no, cycle. So for our Cyclospora cayetanensis, we only have few reports now of finding developmental stages in the intestinal tissue. So again, our oocyst is the infective stage for Cyclospora cayetanensis. So here we have the oocyst of Cyclospora cayetanensis, which is unstained. No? So we only have 2 sporocysts inside, and each sporocyst contains 2 sporozoids. So we have here oocyst under UV microscopy. And this one, we have oocysts using modified acid fast stain. And this one, we also have modified acid fast stain. So again, we have oocyst of C. cayetanensis stained with safranin. So here, no? And then, of course, we have, okay, microscopy. So here we have an oocyst of our Cyclospora cayetanensis. So we have 2 sporocysts, and 1 sporocyst actually is released na, no, from the cyst wall. Okay, now what about clinical manifestations? Now, for Cyclospora cayetanensis, onset of symptoms may occur 12 to 24 hours after exposure. So we have chronic and intermittent diarrhea that occurs early in the infection, which may alternate with constipation. Diarrhea may continue for 6 to 7 weeks with 6 or more stools per day. So medyo malawig. Now, other symptoms include fatigue, anorexia. We also have weight loss, nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, flatulence, bloating, and dyspnea. We also have D-xylose malabsorption in some patients. However, infections are usually, again, self-limiting. So immunity may result with repeated infections, and there's no death associated in cyclosporidiosis. So here we have the life cycle of Cyclospora cayetanensis. So again, our infective stage is the sporulated oocyst. So that is an oocyst containing 2 sporocysts with the 2 sporozoids inside each of the sporocysts. So this is acquired through ingestion of contaminated food or water. So once inside the gastrointestinal tract, the oocyst exists, and then will develop both sexually, asexually and sexually. So ma-develop na naman siya into trophozoite and then eventually into merozoites, and the merozoites develop into schizones, and then some of this will develop, undergo sexual reproduction. And sexual reproduction includes, again, development of micro and macrogametocytes. So there will be fertilization of the macrogametocytes by the macrogametocytes, resulting to formation of zygote, and zygote develops into oocyst. Okay, so we have unsporulated oocyst, released together with the stool, and then in the environment outside, and this will sporulate after several days. Excuse me. And this sporulated oocyst will now contaminate food and water. And of course, so this includes ni siya nga mga food nga pwede makakontaminate. So we have several, so fruits and vegetables, leafy vegetables can become contaminated with the oocyst of Cyclosporidium Cayetanensis. And of course, so again, we have that this oocyst, sporulated oocyst, can be acquired again by humans through ingestion of these contaminated foods. And of course, we have water. And the cycle continues. Now, how do we diagnose cryptosporidiosis? Cyclosporidiosis. So again, how do we diagnose cyclosporidiosis? So we can make use of direct microscopic examination. We also have concentration techniques, acid-fast staining, specifically quinones. We have fluorescent microscopy, and here we have oocysts which are autofluorescent. Kung natawon mo siya under a fluorescent microscope, ga-fluoresce na siya. And then the color, of course, of the fluorescence depends on the filter being used. So it can be blue or it can be green, depending on the color of the filter that is being used. We also have safranin staining. We can make use also of microwave heating and PCR, as our diagnostic procedures or methods. Now, cyclosporidiosis is self-limiting, so treatment is not necessary if symptoms are mild. However, for those symptomatic individuals, we can make use of cotrimoxazole. We have also, or a combination of trimethoprim, sulfamethoxazole. And oocysts disappear from the stools a few days after treatment. So we have reports of cyclosporidiosis in several countries, and we have epidemics in Haiti, Peru, and Nepal. So usually in Nepal during rainy season, and most actually reported cases. We have cases in expatriates and tourists, and of course we have children and adults being infected. So the reason for this, is the contamination of leafy vegetables. In Peru, we also have infections reported in children. So in Haiti, we have infections among the homosexual group. So in the US, we have reported cases, and the culprit is actually the contaminated raspberries imported from Guatemala. And we also have lettuce and basil presto, were also incriminated in other cases. So contamination of both plants, and of course we have fruits. Now, contaminated water is thought to be the main source of infection. So there is no animal reservoir for cyclosporidiosis. And at present, humans, it is considered a human disease only. So for prevention and control, we have good sanitary practices. We also have, treatment of our water. So since only water has been subjected, have been implicated, mostly water, it should be subjected to adequate treatment procedures before consuming water. So boiling water is best in endemic areas because chlorination again is not effective. So fruits and vegetables should be washed with clean water. No? So because sa Guatemala, ang raspberries nga nabakal to sa US were actually exposed to oocysts because ang water nga ginagamit nila to water these raspberries were actually halin sa creek water, no? And was used to dilute also, the creek water was used to dilute insecticides nga ginaspray nila on plants. So that's why na-contaminate with the oocyst. So the same is true with Nepal because ang cabbage, ang cabbage actually, became contaminated by water coming from raw irrigation system. So that's Cyclosporidium cayetanensis. Now we go to Toxoplasma gondii. So here we have an intracellular parasite that infects different kinds of nucleated cells, including macrophages. So this time, intracellular na ang atong parasites. And we have different naman nga developmental stages for Toxoplasma gondii. So for infective stages, we have three infective stages for Toxoplasma gondii. So it's the tachyzoids, we have the bradyzoid, and we have the oocyst. So we have, because we both have sexual intestinal and extra-intestinal stages for our Toxoplasma gondii. So for Toxoplasma gondii, the definitive host is the cat. Okay? So the cat family, so the cat family has actually the complete life cycle of the organism. So humans here are actually intermediate hosts, for Toxoplasma gondii. Okay. So Toxoplasma gondii, follows also the typical coccidian life cycle. We have schizogony, gametogony, and we have sporogony in the intestinal epithelium. However, we have extra-intestinal stages, and these are asexual stages, and this results to the two developmental stages that we mentioned earlier. We have the tachyzoids and the bradyzoids. So bradyzoids and tachyzoids are extra-intestinal stages, so outside of the gastrointestinal tract. Now, let's take a look at the life cycle of Toxoplasma gondii. Okay. So here, okay. Sige. Now, for Toxoplasma gondii, again, we have the definitive host, So we have the definitive host, and of course, we have the cat, as the definitive host. Now, what is actually infective to the cat is the merozoites. Okay? So what is infective to the cats is the merozoites. Now, merozoites inside the cat multiply in the intestinal epithelium of the cat. Okay. And this intestinal and these merozoites will differentiate eventually into micro and macro gametocytes. So ma-undergo ni ang merozoites naton sexual reproduction inside the cat. Now, microgametocytes then fertilize macrogametocytes, resulting to the formation of oocysts. And this oocyst, which is ovoidal, now we have 10 to 13 micrometers by 9 to 11 micrometers in width. So amo ni siyang gakapast out sa feces of the cat, and this is unsporulated. Now, complete sporulation occurs within 3 to 4 days. And the mature nga oocyst has actually 2 sporocysts inside, each with 4 sporozoites. The same with Isospora belli. Now, this oocyst is ingested through contaminated. So these oocysts may contaminate, of course, no, food and water, and can be ingested by another host. And that's, of course, the intermediate host. And humans are intermediate hosts, no, for Toxoplasma gondii. And once ingested, the oocyst again exists, releasing the four sporozoites, and then the sporozoites penetrate the lamina propria of the intestine, and then hindi ni siya mag-develop paanay into trophozoite, makadto ang sporozoites in the lymphatics and spread to the different organs, tissues, and fluids of the body. So naglain no ang iyang life cycle. Now once following entry into the new cell, the sporozoite then transforms into tachyzoid. So baka nagwa na siya sa gastrointestinal tract. So we are now in the extraintestinal nga sites. So we have other organs of the body, you have the blood vessel, and of course we have body fluids. So ma-enter na naman siya new cell, and we have the sporozoite transforming into tachyzoid. And when the host system, when the host immune system, begins to develop, so once may defense mechanism na ang host, si tachyzoid, mahimo na siya into cyst form. And we call this now the bradyzoids, or the bradyzoids naton. So this is that cystic stage, the bradyzoid, found of course sa diin. Ma-insist na siya in other tissues and organs of the body. And then, these bradyzoids naton undergo actually binary fission. So pwede pa siya ma-develop siya, ma-divide pa siya through binary fission through what we call endodiogeny, and then releasing now trophozoites. Okay, and these trophozoites invade other cells of the body. So ma-insist si tachyzoids once the host immune system begins to develop, because this is now the survival stage. However, it can still divide through binary fission through the process we call endodiogeny, releasing now our trophozoites, and the trophozoites invade other cells of the body. So again, we have here the life cycle of Toxoplasma gondii. So here we have the cat as the definitive host. The infective stage, of course, is we have the infective stage. For humans is, again, we have the anong infective stage to humans? We have, of course, that insisted, that cyst, the bradyzoids naton. So the bradyzoids insisted in the muscle of the intermediate host. So we can acquire the infection through eating actually raw or undercooked nga meat. So that's how we can acquire actually Toxoplasma gondii. And then, so syempre ma-release na si bradyzoid, and then si bradyzoid ma-develop, into, again, ma-develop na siya into trophozoites, and invade other organs of the body. That's the extraintestinal. Okay. And then, pwede man, so what are actually, the different diagnostic stages that we can find inside the body? So we have actually different diagnostic stages for humans, and of course we have different diagnostic stages naman for our definitive host, because humans again are the intermediate host. So in humans, guys, we can only find again we can only find tachyzoids and bradyzoids. So we have two developmental stages present in humans and other animal intermediate hosts, and these are the tachyzoids, and of course we have the bradyzoids. Kaya di ba remember, si tachyzoids, Okay? Paano siya natin ma-acquire? Actually, we have both, we have several modes of acquisition Toxoplasma gondii, which we are going to discuss later. No? So, focus lang taanay on these two developmental stages which can be present or which can be found in humans and other animal intermediate hosts. So, we will go back later on to the different modes of acquiring the organism or Toxoplasma gondii. So tachyzoids can be transferred from one person to another by granulocytes blood transfusion because remember, di ba, so once magsulod na siya gani in the gastrointestinal tract, so di ba ma-release na si tachyzoids. Correct, no? So si tachyzoids, because this is extraintestinal, di ba? Extraintestinal siya nga developmental stage. So we can find this one in other organs and tissues of the body and in the body fluids. So that is why tachyzoids can be transferred through blood transfusion, specifically granulocytes. I am referring to our white blood cells, no? So when we say granulocytes, those white blood cells with granules inside, like our neutrophils, our eosinophils, basophils, no? And we also have newly infected mother, can be also transfer the parasite to the fetus during the first trimester of pregnancy because this can pass through the placental barrier, si Toxoplasma gondii. So this is actually one parasite which can be transferred, transplacentally or which can pass through the placenta. Now for the bradyzoids, so amo ni siyang ma-acquire naton, as I said earlier, so we can acquire this one through eating infected meat, of course, no? Meat or infected meat coming from animals. So we have herbivores and we have carnivores, no, for the animals. So basta infected siya, no? And both actually can be transferred through organ transplant, especially bone marrow. So pwede makitaan ang duwa through organ transplantation or pwede sila ma-acquire through organ transplantation. So here we have Toxoplasma gondii tachyzoids. Okay. So again, we have formalin fixed, Toxoplasma gondii tachyzoids, and this is immunofluorescence. So this is the cyst, of our Toxoplasma gondii. So we have here the Brady cyst, the bradyzoids inside. So we have here, bradyzoids, in cystic stage. So this is the oocyst of Toxoplasma in wet mount. So we have two sporocysts, with 4 sporozoids inside. Again, we have unstained wet mount of oocyst of Toxoplasma gondii. So this is from fecal flotation technique. Okay, so diba, if you can still remember, the Brady cyst, pwede siya maka-undergo binary fission through endodiogeny. So what is endodiogeny? Now, this is characterized by formation of the plasma membrane by the two new daughter parasites, even before the division of the nucleus. So, resulting to the formation, of course, of trophozoites. So, anong tsura ng trophozoite? We have 4 to 8 micrometers in length by 2 to 3 micrometers in width. So trophozoites are crescent, crescent shaped with pointed anterior and a rounded posterior end. So we can see rope trees and micronyms in a short conoid which can be found anteriorly. And we also have spherical nucleus in the posterior end. Now, Toxoplasma gondii infect macrophage, and the parasite prevents fusion of the parasitophorous vacuole where the parasites are located with the lysosome. So, it prevents fusion para para nga hindi siya makill sang lysosome sang lysozyme in the lysosome. So that is why gina-prevent niya. This is a defense mechanism, no, of Toxoplasma gondii. So, in acute infection, we can see pseudocyst, no? Pseudocyst because wala pa na forma yung ang cyst walls, no? So, we have pseudocyst containing proliferating tachyzoids, and these are found in tissue sections from the patient. So, we can find pseudocyst, no, during actually the early stage, no, or the acute stage of the disease process. Now, in chronic infection, cyst containing naman niya many bradysoids can be found in muscles and in the central nervous system. So during the acute stage, you can still find the pseudocyst with the tachyzoids. However, in chronic infection, we have cyst with the bradysoids na yan. Now, as to clinical infections, we have most of the infections being asymptomatic for the immunocompetent. So again, once the immune system is triggered, the parasite adapts by transforming into bradysoids. So this is protected by a cyst wall and proliferate at a slower rate. Now, clinical manifestations become apparent when the immune system is suppressed. Now, specifically in those individuals, older individuals, we have drug-induced immunosuppression after, of course, organ transplantation, and we have those immunocompromised patients, not on specifically those with AIDS. So usually symptoms appear when there is relapse of chronic infection as a result of suppressed immune system. So for the immunocompromised patients, the most common manifestation is encephalitis. We also have myocarditis and focal pneumonia. So other clinical manifestations here include retinochoroiditis. We also have lymphoreticular hyperplasia with enlargement of the posterior cervical lymph node. We have hepatitis, splenomegaly, pneumonia, extramedullary hematopoiesis, and failure to gain weight. So these are other clinical manifestations. So this is retinochoroiditis. No? So retinochoroiditis, so inflammation of the retina, retina and the choroid of the eyes. Also, we can find other complications include stillbirth and abortion when mothers acquire the infection during the first trimester of pregnancy. So very delicado sa mother because again the organism can cross the placental barrier. So babies may exhibit chorioretinitis, epileptic seizures, jaundice, hydrocephaly, microcephaly, and death is usually due to anemia and pneumonia. Okay, so traces of clinical manifestations become apparent later in childhood, not during the neonatal period. So most babies harbor the infection and then they grow up without clinical manifestation until such time that the immune system is suppressed and then there is reactivation of chronic toxoplasmosis. So this is sad. So how do we diagnose infections caused by Toxoplasma gondii? So we have tissue imprints stained with either GIMSA or with H&E or our hematoxylin and eosin stains. We can do serology or serodiagnostics. So checking for antibodies against Toxoplasma gondii. So a seroconversion or a fourfold rise in antibody titers is a positive reaction. Now, another method is what we call Feldman methylene blue dye test. So this is specific and sensitive. However, we require maintenance of live toxoplasma here. So gagamit kita live toxoplasma. Pero ang disadvantage ni Feldman is that we cannot identify chronic from acute infection because ma-positive man siya both in acute and chronic infection. So we can identify acute and chronic infection if we are going to perform indirect fluorescent antibody technique and double sandwich enzyme immunoassay. So these two can be used to check for acute infection because these two methods detect specific IgM antibodies. Okay, so this can diagnose acute infection. We also have other serological tests. We have indirect heme agglutination, enzyme-linked immunosorbent assay, latex agglutination, and of course we have PCR, making use of serum, amniotic fluid, CSF, and bronchoalveolar lavage, no, as our specimens. So for treatment, it's pyrimethamine. We also have sulfadiazine, no, so combination, and other drugs like speramycin, azithromycin, clarithromycin, dapsone, and atovaquone. So corticosteroids are used not to prevent hypersensitivity. We also have trimethoprim, sulfamethoxazole, which is used for prophylaxis, no, for those immunocompromised. So Toxoplasma gondii is endemic worldwide, no, in humans and also in domestic animals. The disease manifests in case of immune deficiency or suppression. And here in the Philippines, we have clinical toxoplasmosis is not common. So we have 2.4%, no, of the population which is seropositive for T. gondii. So in other words, so we have those population with antibodies against T. gondii. So meaning to say na-expose sila. But high naman sa mga animals like pigs, no, and rats. Now, as to prevention and control, so food should be protected from contamination by cat feces. Meat and eggs should be well cooked. We also have pregnant women should avoid contact with cats. Now, because remember, cats are the definitive host. Laboratory workers should be very careful in handling the parasite. Okay, guys, so that ends Toxoplasma gondii. Okay, so some salient points now on Toxoplasma gondii. So we have a parasite na which actually have three infective stages, and these are the oocysts, the tachyzoids, and of course we have the bradyzoids. And cats are the definitive host. So in other words, so just no for clarification or some clarification on the important points now of Toxoplasma gondii. So the definitive host are the cats. And in the cats, we have the complete life cycle no, of the parasite. So the parasite undergoes schizogony and sporogony. No? So both asexual and sexual stages. Now, infective stage to the cats is the oocyst. Okay? And then, so pagkatapos, di ba, complete ang life cycle inside the cat. So, the end result of this is actually the passage of the oocyst in the feces of the cat. So, together with the cat's feces. So, oocyst, after passage, no, together with the feces of the cat, so becomes sporulated. So, infectious na siya dayon. And humans, guys, acquire the infection. So, again, humans acquire the infection through eating contaminated food and water. So, that is food or water contaminated with the oocyst. So, once inside the gastrointestinal tract again of humans, oocyst exists, no? And releasing now the sporozoites. Now remember, in humans are intermediate host. So Toxoplasma gondii is an intracellular parasite. So once we now have the sporozoites in the gastrointestinal tract, si sporozoites infect other cells of the body, specifically nucleated cells and macrophages. So intracellular siya, masulod sa cell. So once inside the cell, the sporozoites develop into tachyzoids. And of course, once the immune system now develops, the tachyzoids become bradyzoids. Because bradyzoids, maano siya, ma-insist siya. So siya ang survival stage, no? Or the resistant stage. And eventually, these bradyzoids will develop into trophozoite na naman, no? And the trophozoites, no, invade other cells of the body. Okay, so that's why, no, we can find tachyzoids and bradyzoids, no, in different organs and areas of the body because they are found inside the cell and can be acquired through organ transplantation or donation, and of course in other tissues and fluids of the body. Okay, so just like what we mentioned earlier. So these are salient points, no, for Toxoplasma gondii. Okay, so now let's proceed to Sarcocystis hominis and Sarcocystis soi hominis. Now, the Sarcocystis species, no, are reported worldwide, so they have worldwide distribution, and both parasites infect humans and animals. The condition is known as sarcosporidiosis or sarcocystosis. Now, Sarcocystis hominis and soi hominis, no, actually have complex nga life cycle. Now, we have two hosts na naman, no, for these two parasites, the Sarcocystis species. So, the intermediate hosts are the herbivores and the omnivores. But humans, again, humans this time are definitive hosts. The same is true with the carnivores. No, medyo complicated ang life cycle. Now, humans are definitive hosts again. However, humans can act also, no, act also as intermediate hosts. So rarely, humans are intermediate hosts for these parasites. Now, we have several forms of Sarcocystis. We have the zoit, no? So these are just terminologies, guys, but actually, nag-refer man isa sa the different zoids that we have. So we have the zoit, which is a banana-shaped cell, so crescent, no? So we have pointed end equipped for entering the cells. We have also the sporocyst, no? Which composed of four zoids, which actually is the survival stage, no? So this is the one that infect the intermediate host, the sporocyst. Now, inside the sporocyst, okay, amo ni siya nag-form sa sporozoites, of course, di ba? And of course, we have the sarcocysts, no, which are also formed from sporozoites. And this is actually, the sarcocysts now are composed of large number of zoids surrounded by a cyst wall. And zoids develop from sporozoites after encystment. So we have a macrocyst and we have microcyst, no, for our sarcocyst. So the sarcocyst seen by the naked eye is the macrocyst, and those cysts naman or cysts, no, or zoids seen under the microscope, no, as the same, no, structure or width as with the muscle fiber is known as our microcyst. So again, so we have the zoid, the sporocyst, and we have the sarcocyst, no, as developmental stages of Sarcocystis. So in the life cycle of Sarcocystis, humans, no, and of course we have the carnivores, no, serve as definitive host. So how can we acquire the infection? So this is the particular Coccidia naton, which can be acquired through consumption of uncooked or undercooked nga meat. So amo ni siya yan, no, ang parasite, no, which can be acquired through contaminated meat, no, so either raw or partially cooked nga meat. Okay, so meat of what? The infective host, of course, no? Or the intermediate host, I mean, no? So what is the infective stage? So the infective stage is the sarcocyst. Now that sarcocyst contain, of course, the zoid, no? Zoids or the sporozoites inside. So upon entry of the sarcocyst, no, the cyst wall is actually digested, releasing now the zoids. And then the zoids enter the cells of the intestine and change into male and female forms. So meaning to say, we are referring to the sexual forms. No? So we have the gametocytes in here. So we have the micro and the macro gametocytes. No? And eventually, we have the union of the male and the female forms, resulting to the formation of sporocysts. So, lain naman yung iyang life cycle. So, the sporocysts here are then passed out in the feces. So, infective stage to the intermediate host are the sporocysts. No? So, once inside or once ingested no, the sporocyst, then ma-release na niya ang sporozoites from the sporocyst. And then the sporozoites penetrate the intestinal epithelium of the intermediate host and then spread hematogenously to various areas of the body. So it can go to the brain, no, specifically to the neural tissue. So this can lead to damage, no, of the neural tissue and of course can cause behavioral changes. We also have, no, pwede siya kakanto sa muscle cells wherein the sporozoites insist and develop into typical sarcocyst. So that's how, no, we acquire the infection, of course, no? So humans are definitive hosts. So through eating of those sarcocysts insisted in the muscles, no, of the intermediate host. So we have the omnivores and the herbivores. So other tissues of the body can be also infected, no, by the sporozoites, wherein they become schizons and then eventually insist. Okay, so these are the different developmental stages of our Sarcocystis species, no, in the intermediate host. So again, infective stage to the intermediate host are the sporocysts, wherein the sporocysts release the sporozoites and then the sporozoites penetrate the intestinal epithelium and then spread through blood to different organs of the body of the intermediate host. Intermediate host are the omnivores and the herbivores. So pwede sa brain, pwede sa muscle cells, and then eventually into other organs and tissues of the body where the sporozoites insist. So 2.5 months after infection, the sarcocyst mature and able to infect now the definitive host. So the one that insists in the muscles, no, are the sarcocysts, and this is the infective stage 2, the definitive host. So just like us humans, no, and of course we have other carnivores. Now, accidental ingestion of sporocysts pwede ma-occur, no? The accidental ingestion of sporocysts. Now, that is why humans can act also as intermediate host, rarely, because we do have accidental ingestion of sporocysts, and this results in direct infection of humans without the intermediate host. So, pwede ma-acquire siya, no? So, this occurs rarely. So, di mo na ni nagasulod, no? Nga humans act as intermediate host. So, we call the infection human intramuscular sarcocystosis. So, wherein humans accidentally ingest, no, sporocysts. So again, humans are infected, no, by the sarcocyst with the zoids inside, no, sa muscle, nag-insist na siya. So we call that actually zoids, the bradyzoids gyapon. So this is just terminologies, guys, no. So here we have ingestion of the sarcocyst, no, in the muscles, releasing now the zoids. And then, no, pwede nga ang zoids ma-undergo na naman siya developmental stages, specifically, no, ma-undergo siya, sexual, no, reproduction, resulting to formation of the female and male nga forms naton. So we have the micro and the macro. And then eventually, ma-form na naman siya sa ginatawag naton nga, okay, ma-form na naman siya sa ginatawag naton nga, developmental stage, which is now the zygotes. So, from the sporozoites, okay, ma-release si sporocyst, ma-release na siya from the intestine of humans. So the sporocyst naman, okay, can be acquired by the intermediate host through ingestion, no? So ma-ingest ni siya sa other intermediate host, like of course we have the omnivores, no? And we have our herbivores. So again, the infective stage 2, the intermediate host, no, is the sporocyst. Okay, and ma-undergo naman siya asexual development inside of course, the intermediate host, and eventually releasing now, of course, the sarcocyst, no? Okay. And the cycle continues. So again, guys, we have here the life cycle of our sarcocystis. So medyo klaro niya, no? Okay, so because of the different terminologies nga ginagamit naton in the life cycle. So here, no, again, humans are infected, no, and other definitive hosts are infected by the sarcocyst, no, with the bradyzoids inside. So remember the sarcocyst with the zoids inside. So once inside, no, maano na siya gani ang sarcocyst, ma-release ang iyang zoids inside, and then ma-undergo naman ang zoids naton sang developmental stages, no? Specifically, sexual developmental stages. Now, wherein naman niya sa animals, okay, the intermediate host, ang infective stage is the sporocyst, no, with, of course, the sporozoids inside. So, this is the infective stage to the omnivores and the herbivores. Okay. So again, let's take a look at the life cycle now this time, no, of our, okay, so this is more clear, no, compared, no, sa CDC naton. So again, for the humans, and of course we have the other carnivores which act as definitive hosts for our sarcocystis, we can acquire the infection through ingestion of cooked or undercooked, no? Undercooked, not cooked, but raw or undercooked nga meat, no? So we have in there sarcocyst with the zoid or the bradyzoids, di ba? Kaya sa muscle. Okay. So once ingested, ma-digest ang cyst, di ba? Releasing now our, okay, zoids. Okay, the zoids undergo sexual reproduction, ma-undergo siya gametogony. So we have either here gametocytes, no? So we have the micro and the macro gametocytes. So there will be fertilization and eventually ma-produce sang oocyst, di ba? Okay, so fertilization will result to formation of oocyst. And then si oocyst, ma-develop siya, ma-sporulate siya in the intestinal lumen. And then, maano siya? Okay, eventually, inside the oocyst, we have sporocyst inside with sporozoids. And these sporozoids, no, is the one that is excreted in the feces. Okay. Of course, the definitive host. And this is the one that is infective to the intermediate host. So intermediate hosts like the herbivores and of course we have the omnivores, no, are infected by the sporocyst, no, so they are the intermediate host. Okay, and then once inside the body of the intermediate host, the sporocyst exists, releasing sporozoids, no, and enter now endothelial cells. Ma-undergo naman siya asexual reproduction, and then eventually ma-develop naman into sarcocyst. Okay, which is the infective stage to the definitive host, just like us humans. So again, there is also an infection, no, wherein the sporocyst can be accidentally ingested by humans, resulting to intramuscular sarcocystosis. So here we have sporulated oocyst. Okay, so in wet mouths. So we can find, no? So this is oocyst with two sporocysts inside. So this is the infective stage to the intermediate host. Okay. So here we have sarcocyst, no, in the muscles. So this time, this is the infective stage 2, the definitive host. So we have of course humans and other carnivores. So we have here the sarcocyst with of course the zoids inside, the bradyzoids. So here we have sarcocyst, no, showing higher magnification din padako, many bradyzoids inside. Now, what is sarcocystosis? So this is characterized by gastroenteritis with diarrhea, eosinophilic enteritis, myalgia, weakness, mild increase of creatine kinase, no, of the muscle enzyme. So we also have fever and more severe symptoms of, however, can be manifested sa mga manifested by the immunocompromised patients naton. So infected muscles showed lack of inflammation nor degenerative changes. Okay, for the intermediate host, so the brain, the muscle, and kidney tissues can be damaged. So we are talking of the animals here, no? So there's loss of appetite, fever, weight loss, and anemia. We also have gait abnormalities, weakening of limbs, muscle weakness, and we have head tilt, no? Nag-tilt ang head. So infected siya, no? With sarcocystitis. Infected animals move in circles, and this can also result in abortion, no, sa mga pregnant nga animals, like for example, cows. Heavy infections result in paralysis and death. So these are for animals, no, which are intermediate hosts for sarcocystitis. Now, as to diagnosis, now it is very difficult to identify sporocysts in fecal specimen. So sporocysts are the infective stage 2, the intermediate host, of course. So for the definitive host, no, just like as humans, we can do fecal flotation method. So we can see sporocyst, no, which is actually 9 to 16 micrometers in length. So it is oblong or cylindrical, containing, of course, 4 long teardrop-shaped sporozoids with residual bodies. Okay, so this is in intramuscular cystosis, in which, okay, humans can accidentally swallow sporocyst. So, pwede get, na? Sorry. So, schizones can be found in skeletal muscle or brain tissue during necropsy. So, this is for the intermediate host, no? Pwede makitaan ang schizones. So, during necropsy. So, this is an autopsy performed on animals, no? That's necropsy. So, we have a thick covering for the schizones, and the schizones now contain several bradyzoids. So these schizones resemble coccidian merozoites, which are long and dark staining. Now, the macrocysts can be found in ducks, sheep, rabbits, and mice, so they are easily seen with unaided eye, and they are grayish or whitish nga streaks 1 to 10 micrometers in length, running lengthwise along muscle fibers. So this can be seen macroscopically, no, kay dako siya. The microcyst, on the other hand, can be found only in histological exam of affected tissue. That is for the animals. So we can also do Western blot serological test, no? For checking for antibodies in the serum and CSF. So we can do immunofluorescent antibody testing. We have ELISA also. We can do PCR. However, this is not effective, no? So making use of CSF. We can also do complement fixation and dermal sensitivity test. Now, as to treatment and prognosis, so no effective treatment known for sarcocystosis, but we can make use of corticosteroids, no? Corticosteroids, I mean, for muscle inflammation. We also have trimethoprim, methoxazole for intestinal infections. So ingestion of partially cooked meat causes no harm to individuals. So rapid recovery was observed among affected, no, who experienced nausea and diarrhea. So in most animal, infections are not considered to cause serious pathologic changes. However, heavy infections have caused mortality in domestic animals affected. Okay, so Sarcocystis hominis or Sarcocystis species have worldwide distribution. So few cases of human sarcocystosis reported, and most come from Southeast Asia. So this is a public health concern because prevalence may be higher since infection is usually asymptomatic and because of difficulty in diagnosis. So risk of human infection may be also increased because of several infected food animals like cattle, sheep, pigs now in some parts of the world. Okay, kaya ara ni sila sa mga omnivores, no, kag sa mga herbivores naton. Other animals that can be infected, no, are cattle, horses, dogs, cats, rabbits, mice, and chicken. So we can also find organisms in waterfowl, no, species. So mga waterfowl naton. So infections in avian species present no known health hazard to humans so far. So we have also species found in buffaloes, and we call this Sarcocystis bubalis. And we have here the different mode of transmission from animal to animal. So this is incompletely understood. However, it is solely believed that it can be transmitted by ingestion of meat containing sarcocyst. But recent developments show that ingesting fecally contaminated food infects animals. Now, these are characteristics now of sporocyst, and of course, we also have macrocyst. So, the sporocyst, no? So, sporocyst actually can be found, no? This is the infective stage to the intermediate host. So, sporocysts retain infectivity for many months in water at 4 to 10 degrees centigrade, suggesting that they will remain infective for grazing stocks and even humans for weeks or months unless water dries out. So, makasurvive sila, no? Sa water. Infectivity is prolonged during the cooler months because sporocysts do not survive long in hot, dry conditions. So that's why no, it is able to survive in water at 4 to 10 degrees centigrade. Now, the macrocyst, no, on the other hand, remained alive for 13 days at 10 degrees to 10 degrees, no, and 20 days at 4 degrees centigrade in a performed experiment. So it seems possible that carcasses left unburied on farmland would remain infective for scavenging cats and dogs for several weeks in cool weather. So pwede ma-transmit ang infection, no, to other scavenging animals, specifically the carnivores. So macrocysts have to be heated for 20 minutes at 60 degrees centigrade in order to kill them. Cysts that were placed in a freezer for 2 months were still capable of infecting cats, and freezing of meat has not been shown to prevent spread. So as to control, so far no known control methods for this disease. So we have to uncook animals know how to prevent. So uncooked animal carcass should not be fed to other animals because that can transmit the infection, especially if the carcass is infected. So food animals that are heavily infected, even with species not harmful to humans, should be condemned as unfit for human consumption. Good sanitation and hygiene also is very important. So that ends, guys, coccygians. Now we will continue with the rest of the intestinal protozoans in the next video lecture presentation. Thank you so much.